Wow, this latest issue of Elle magazine has a bunch of my favorites in it. Jennifer Lawrence on the back cover promoting Joy by Dior with a free sample of it in here that smells so good. Selena Gomez on the front cover with a featured story of hers in it. Emma Stone promoting Louis Vuitton on the inside front cover. Just so great. So great to see all of them in here. Yes, sir, this latest issue is a gold mine of... There's another one of my favorites in here. Keira Knightley promoting Coco Mademoiselle by Chanel. And what's this? There's a free sample of it here too. What is up, everybody? Random Man here, bringing you my review for Colette. Now, the plot of this biopic basically follows our title character herself, Colette, played by Keira Knightley, who would become an icon of French literature. But before that, she was a ghostwriter for another famous author / her husband, Willie, played by Dominic West. Going into this movie, I honestly did not know that much about it. I saw one trailer for this thing, but that's about it, and I did know that it premiered at, say it with me now, the Sundance Film Festival back in January. Yes, this is yet another movie from that fest that I am reviewing, and really, aside from the basic concept, I did not know that much about the real-life writer that this movie is centering on. Apparently, she is world famous and, again, an icon of French literature. Ultimately, what got me to see this movie was for its lead, Keira Knightley. Now, as I've probably made clear from the intro to this video, she is one of my favorites, and despite 2 Oscar nominations, I think she is pretty underrated as an actress. Now, it's been a running joke, at least between movie buffs, that she is most famous for playing roles where she has to wear a corset in a bunch of period piece dramas, and Colette happens to be the latest period piece drama starring Keira Knightley. But even so, Knightley was the main reason for me to go see this thing, and jumping right into what I thought of her performance as Colette, I thought she was remarkable. This is one of the best performances I've seen from her, even with an already impressive resume behind her. The nuance that she gives to playing Colette, along with a headstrong attitude, makes her very likable in the role, as you see her face some adversity throughout, both by her husband Willie and also the constraints of the era she was living in, but it made me identify with her a lot more. Plus, this role, I think, subtly poked fun at what Knightley has done famously in the past, as yes, she does wear a corset at least once in this movie, pretty early on actually, and she quickly takes it off as she says she couldn't breathe in that thing. Also great is Dominic West as Colette's husband, Willie, who I almost didn't recognize at first under all of that impressive facial hair he had in the film. The chemistry that he has with Knightley is kinetic, even though their relationship is quite turbulent, to say the least, either overtly or subtly, as, like I've mentioned before, Willie made Colette ghostwrite for him, and also has some complexity beneath how he is as a character. This would also contribute to how Colette feels later on in the movie as well, but nevertheless, I thought the performances here, specifically Knightley as Colette, are fantastic. Now, this film is co-written and directed by Wash Westmoreland, which is a name I knew I recognized from somewhere, so I went to look up his name, and turns out with his husband Richard Glatzer, they both co-wrote and co-directed another film from a few years ago that I've seen and reviewed, Still Alice, starring Julianne Moore, and Moore would go on to win the Best Actress Oscar for her performance there, and that's just another solid movie with a strong female lead like Colette. Sadly, Glatzer passed away a few weeks actually after Moore would win her Oscar, but still has co-writing credit on this film, Colette, and like I've said, Westmoreland ended up directing this film. And what these two brought to the table, both with their script and Westmoreland's direction, brought something that was interesting from the start. The film is structured in how it does jump through time quite progressively as the movie goes on. It starts out in the late 1890s with Colette as a teenager and would have a romance with her eventual husband Willie, and then it keeps going on into both characters' careers. Now, with that, I will say that the movie does start out slow within the first 20 to 30 minutes or so. I never was necessarily bored, but it did take a while for the film's plot to get going, as, yeah, there's quite a bit of background to how these two characters are with each other, how they interacted, and how they contributed to French literature. However, I think the movie shifts into high gear when the first in a series of novels centering around the character named Claudine gets published in the year 1900. And this is a book series that was massively popular. It would be comparable to something like Harry Potter, to where everyone in France was reading it and became a franchise that spawned off into theater. This is also at the point of the movie where the two main characters get more development as the film transpires, which specifically shows off how Colette wasn't just an icon for French literature. She was also somebody who broke gender norms by dressing in a bunch of suits as opposed to corsets and dresses, and also having a bit of gender fluidity within her, as she wasn't afraid to be in the company of another woman. As all of this is happening, we are treated to some stunning technical merits, as going into the costume and production designs of this film, mwah, so impressive looking. Right down to the dresses a lot of the women are wearing in this film, the suits that the men are wearing, also the suits that Colette wears, and also just the overall look of this movie. In it taking place in France, there's a lot of serene cinematography that is captured here that really made me so allured to the setting. I also have to give a shout out to the original score, as it is subtle too, but I also thought it added to the sense of feeling like we are living in this time period in this country, which is always great when it comes to period piece films like this one. Running at just under 2 hours, I've mentioned before that I did think this movie started initially slow, but it became an overall entertaining experience for me. Also, as somebody who did not know that much about this famous historical figure in French literature, I got a kick out of seeing all of this information become new to me and take it all in. Really, there isn't that much else to take issue with this film in my opinion, except for one nitpick, which I will mention. Despite this movie taking place in France around the turn of the 20th century, everyone in this movie speaks with British accents. In fact, I think the principal cast here is made up of British performers. Now, this is similar to Martin Scorsese's Hugo, where everyone in that film spoke in British accents, despite it also taking place in France as well, specifically in Paris. Now, the reasoning behind this was that it would be less awkward for everyone to speak in a British accent than try to imitate a French accent, which, yeah, it would make sense there, and I think that was probably the similar reasoning for all the actors and Colette to do the same as well. Also, in Colette, even though these characters are speaking in English, everything that is being written down is in French. I could see some people taking issue with the divide of the dialogue being in English, but everything being written down on screen being in French, but that didn't bother me in the slightest, as overall, I think Colette is an outstanding period piece drama that doubles as a biopic. Couple that with the exceptional lead performance from Keira Knightley, terrific technical merits, and it being presented in a timely fashion to today, with Colette herself being a historical figure that is a part of the LGBTQ+ community, making this movie, and the story of Colette for that matter, being long overdue to be told on the big screen. This movie just opened up into more cities this weekend and will go nationwide in about 2 weeks' time. So whether or not you know Colette's story or are in for a period piece drama that does deliver what it sets out to present itself with, I definitely recommend Colette. My final verdict for Colette is 4 out of 5 stars. thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Colette. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.